Things like pubs, actually, because we're seeing pubs dying out like mad. And a lot of that is down to all these taxes. There's massive increase in taxes, and that's because the sort of rebate on business rates is being reversed. Let's talk about that being a U-turn tomorrow by the government, which would be U-turn number 12. I think it's number 12.
Say 13 or 14.
Well, you might be right. Who knows? There might have been a couple yesterday, I don't know. Anyway, one person who's condemned what they've called perverse taxes driving up the price of a pint is Sir Tim Martin, who you will know because he's the boss of Spoons.
Yep. The Wetherspoons boss says harsher taxes were to blame for the growing price gap between pubs and supermarkets, which he said may well be the last straw that breaks the industry's back.
Well, Sir Tim joins us now. It's really good to see you this morning. It's interesting to talk to you because we've talked to a lot of sort of independent publicans over the last couple of weeks or so and know how difficult it is for them. How is it for a big chain like Wetherspoons?
Well, I think that the entire industry, whether you've got one pub or 100, labours under the same handicaps, and they predate this government, although this government has made them a lot worse by a massive tax grab. And that is that for 25 years, 30, 40 years actually, pubs pay 20% VAT on food, which is a growing percentage of pub sales. For us this week, food is 40% of our sales. And supermarkets pay nothing. And we also pay much more business rates per pint. So it comes from an era 30, 40 years ago when pubs dominated the beer market, but they no longer do. So what's happened? It's widened the price gap for a pint between going to a pub and a supermarket, and pubs since the year 2000 have lost 50% of their beer sales. So it's a fraction of what it was when I started business 45 years ago. So that is the background, is you pay much more for a pint in a pub than a supermarket because the tax system is against you. And on top of that now, you've had very punitive tax and wage increases from government legislation, the last two budgets in particular. So you now have a crisis. I think people can't understand tax well. In the Treasury, etc., they think, yeah, we can whack taxes on pubs and everyone goes out to drink, so they'll have to pay it. And even some people in the industry can't believe that they're really competing with supermarkets because they're slightly different, but they are. That's the background. It's slightly complex, but your listeners will understand it.
This interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN and their New Year deal. New Year, new VPN, and a huge saving of up to 80% if you act now. You're busy planning how to get in shape, but the hackers are planning how to get into your accounts. ExpressVPN locks down your connection so you can start the year protecting your data. So scan the QR code or click the link in the description now.
Yes, I mean, it's a very British thing as well, isn't it? We're known the world over for being a nation that goes out to the pub. And it's always thought as well to be the best place to drink, frankly. Not to go and load up your supermarket trolley with booze and take it home, but to go out, be with other people, and under the watchful eye, maybe, as well, of a publican. It seems to me, and lots of people, that this government doesn't sort of get Britishness. What would your message to Keir Starmer be?
Well, I have to say that I've been making this argument to governments of other hues, and they haven't exactly been too receptive. I always thought it would only come to the crunch, the fact that you need tax equality in the supermarkets, once pubs started closing. Now they're in real crisis and people have to listen. And my message to Keir would be, Keir, there's nothing more boring than staying in and staring at the four walls. If you've ever been to a Swedish village with no pubs, you'll know how desperate life can get. So if you want, it's a question for Keir, but it's more a wider question for the public. If you want pubs to stay and thrive, then you can't tax them at a much higher level than supermarkets. Supermarkets are very powerful. They do a great job for their customers. But if you want pubs to survive, Keir, I'd say, and maybe you don't, but I think you do, then you can't have higher taxes than for supermarkets. Simple as that.
But this is what drives me a little bit mad, Tim, is that it is simple, actually, and it's when we know that the economy needs to grow, and we know that Labour got into power on the basis that their economics were funded by the economy growing, then why are they being made? Decisions that actually slow down the economy, put people out of work, stop recruitment and close businesses?
Well, I'd love to say it was just Keir, but I think the big thing that people can't get out of their minds is it's not only pubs that sell beer. And therefore, if you speak to a lot of people in the pub trade, they can't bear the thought they're competing with supermarkets because the price differential is so great. So what they do in denial is they say, we're not. Whereas in fact, we know that the price differential gets big enough, people grab a few packs from the supermarket, stick it in the fridge. We've all done it.
All right,
we're all guilty.
Well, here's the maths then, because, of course, the argument from some people listening, watching, and Labour MPs may be, well, what we can't afford to do now is reduce a whole load of tax that the pubs are paying, and particularly on things like food and beer. But presumably, if the prices were reduced, if the tax was removed and the prices were reduced, sales would go up. It might actually increase the tax revenue for government.
Yes, I think that pubs inherently pay more tax than supermarkets and always will because they employ a lot more people per pint. And so taxes will go up. But I spoke to someone from the Treasury once who said, just tell us what the problem is and don't tell us how to organise the taxes. So what the taxes need is what a guy called Luke Johnson, who's appeared on your shows sometimes, says is a sensible rebalancing. You need to rebalance it so there's equality, which is a tax principle between different types of businesses. But that's what you've got now, a slightly technical issue which goes beyond most people, including economists' comprehension, and a need for common sense and caring. But I think it'll be provoked by a rise in unemployment and closures of pubs. Unfortunately, that's when people will listen.
Very quickly, you've been in the business a long time and you said you've been critical of previous governments as well on this. Have you ever felt things be so bad?
No. I think they're particularly bad, particularly in the aftermath of the COVID lockdowns, which accelerated the trend towards home drinking. And we're creatures of habit, so we tended to stick with drinking at home much more than people anticipated.
Tim, it's lovely to talk to you. I keep going to Spoons and hoping you'll wander in one of the days, but
I will.
You've got lots of branches to choose from. It's really good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.